Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are letting everyone in from the waiting room, and we'll just get started in a minute. Okay. All right. Well, we'll let others filter in as they come. Thank you guys so much for joining. This is a workshop that is focused on how seagrasses and seaweeds in California can support our climate change goals and how our climate change goals can support seagrasses and seaweeds in California. The intention for this workshop is to inform the update to our National Working Lands Climate Smart Strategy, which is a climate strategy really focused on the land sector in California. It was first released in 2022, and a bill that was signed into law a couple years ago required that we update it in 2025. So we are working to make good on that requirement. And we started off with a sort of kickoff webinar that outlined, what was our approach to the 2022 strategy? Oh, whoops. I jumped ahead myself. I'm sorry. I want to say a couple housekeeping items. Apologies, everyone. First, just wanted to say that when others are talking, it's great to stay muted. Second, we are recording the webinar and it will be posted on our website. And third, if anyone would like to access closed captioning, you need to go up to the top right of your screen and select More. And then you'll select Language and Speech, and then you click on Turn on Live Captions. So apologies that I didn't start with that. All right, going back to the kickoff webinar, wanted to flag this for you all because it is recorded on our website, and in case it would be helpful for you to check it out. We spent that hour really outlining what was our approach to the 2022 strategy and why. And then what are we thinking about in terms of adjustments to approach for the 2025 strategy and why? And then we had some Q&A time. So this workshop and all of the subsequent workshops have been focused on the landscape specific sections of that strategy. We're really, the goal for today is to really do a deep dive on how seagrasses and seaweeds can support climate, and climate can support seagrasses and seaweeds. And so really excited to hear from all of you on ways that we might do a better job of that or an updated job of that in the 2025 strategy. And so just quick agenda is I'm going to hand off to my colleague Clessy, who will introduce herself to everyone. And she'll sort of kind of do a little quick refresher for everyone on the seagrasses and seaweeds section in the 2022 strategy, share a little bit about process and next steps for the overall update to the Natural Working Lands strategy, and then we're going to hand it over to you. And essentially, what that will look like is we're going to post some discussion questions that we had released previously on our website, and really just open the floor. And in previous workshops, there's been times where it's been kind of quiet, and then a hand will raise, and so we will be here till the very end of the hour. But if you come and you sort of say your piece and you don't really have anything else to contribute, and you don't want to necessarily hear what others have to say, please feel free to drop off. But also please feel free to just hang on and listen, or also to just use the hour to think if there's anything else that comes to mind that you want to share. So we'll be here, and silence and kind of lulls in conversation will not phase us at all. So just wanted to say that from the beginning. And lastly, to say that when we did the 2022 strategy, we got an incredible amount of public feedback on the draft that we released, and it was beyond helpful to us. And so just want to say, first of all, if any of you contributed to that effort, I want to say thank you. But I also want to say thank you for being here now, and that we hope that you'll stay involved throughout the course of the year as we do this update, because this is it's a really vast subject matter, and we really benefit from everyone's experience and expertise that you share. So huge thanks to everyone. And now I will hand it off to Clessy for the presentation that she's going to give. Thank you all so much. Clessy, over to you.
Right, can you see the deck? Yeah, okay, awesome. Right. As Amanda said, my name's Clessie Bennett. I am a senior environmental scientist at the Resources Agency, and I'm going to start with a bit of an overview and reminder of what we did in 2022, as well as what our plan is going forward. So first, I'll start with our proposed approach for the update. You may remember from the 2022 strategy that we had a section that was really the heart of the strategy on the different landscape types. And in these sections, we identified the climate benefits that climate smart land management of these landscapes could provide, as well as a list of priority nature-based climate solutions for each of these landscapes. So we're going to be going back through the science and where the science has evolved, integrating that into these discussion sections on each of the landscapes, as well as revisiting the priority nature-based solutions to reflect any new science or new thinking and management. And this is also a question that we're hoping to get your feedback on, of how we might refine these priority nature-based solutions. We're also going to be updating the landscape maps that were included in the 2022 strategy using new and updated land cover data. Third, we're going to be taking the next step in our approach to tracking action and measuring outcomes in this sector. Fourth, we're going to have a new section that we did not have in the 2022 strategy, and we're really hoping to get you all's help with this. And this is a section on identifying barriers to implementing these priority nature-based solutions and how might we overcome those barriers. And then lastly, we'll wrap up the strategy with summarizing what we've done at the state since the 2022 strategy to the 2025 release, as well as update our near-term priorities for action in 2025 and going forward. A bit about the process. We had our kickoff webinar last week, and we are now in the midst of holding our landscape-specific public workshops, and those will run to the end of February. We're also in an early tribal consultation period and holding tribal roundtables in March. We are planning to release a draft of the strategy in June, and this will be followed by a public comment period, as well as a tribal consultation period and additional tribal roundtables. And we will plan to release the strategy in January of 2025. We had multiple workshops this week. We are finishing the week with the Seagrasses and Seaweeds. We're almost halfway through. We'll pick up next Monday with wetlands and water and have 2 more throughout next week. And now I'll dive specifically into the Seagrasses and Seaweeds section from the 2022 strategy. So as a reminder, seagrasses and seaweeds include marine flowering plants and algae, and in California, this really looks like eelgrass and kelp, and this covers 70,000 acres of our coast, including around 0.1% of the state land cover. Seagrasses and seaweeds, if managed in a climate smart manner, can provide many benefits to us, including buffering against coastal flooding and building climate resilience. They also improve water quality, support culturally important and commercially important species. They can also contribute to our coastal economies through tourism opportunities. However, these landscapes have recently suffered decline due to pollution and disturbance and disease and climate impacts. In order for these seagrasses and seaweeds to continue to provide the climate benefits they do, including carbon sequestration and carbon storage, we need to prevent disturbance as well as restore disturbed areas. And that is reflected in our list of priority nature-based climate solutions that were identified for the 2022 strategy for seagrasses and seaweeds. We've got protection and restoration of both eelgrass and kelp forests in California. We've got adaptive management through the state's Marine Protected Area Network, advancing and adopting living shorelines, and then lastly, aquaculture and co-management to facilitate tribal practices. I also wanted to touch on the cross-cutting priorities that were included in the 2022 strategy. So in this strategy, we identified a number of priorities that were relevant and applicable across all of the landscapes in California. And so we set them aside into their own section that cuts across all of the landscapes. And so I'm not going to read through each of these here, but I will just touch on the themes. So we've got equity and engagement in the implementation of nature-based solutions. We've got the advancement of multi-benefit landscape level approaches, adaptive management, especially in the face of a changing climate, the importance of technical assistance and workforce development, the need to leverage resources through partnerships, the importance of tribal management and co-management, the need to protect and conserve lands that are resilient, that provide refugia and other ecosystem services such as carbon storage. We need to advance durable protection measures, address and combat invasive species across all of these landscapes, and then lastly, expand nursery and seed bank capacity in order to meet our restoration and reforestation goals. That I'll switch over to the discussion portion of our workshop here. So a few little guidelines before we get into it. If you could use the raise hand function and queue up and we'll call on you. Please introduce yourself when you're speaking. You can also put input into the chat. We'll get to as many comments as we can. We'll likely get to all of them, I suspect. But if we don't, you can always submit your comment in writing, and I will touch on how you can do that towards the end of our time together. So with that, we've got 4 discussion questions prepared for you. First is, are there changes you'd recommend that we make to those existing priority nature-based solutions that I walked through for seagrasses and seaweeds? Second, are there changes that you'd recommend to those cross-cutting priorities that I touched upon? And then third and fourth, helping us with our new section. Are there barriers to implementing these nature-based solutions? What are they? What are existing solutions to overcome these barriers? And lastly, how can the state most usefully advance these solutions? So with that, I am going to put myself on mute and turn it over to you all. I'm also going to put a link to those existing nature-based solutions and cross-cutting priorities into the chat so you can easily see those. I'll also add if there are any of those priority nature-based solutions or cross-cutting priorities that you really want to see us definitely carry through to the next update of the strategy. That's also good information for us to know. Okay. If you are talking, you may be on mute.
Hey, my name is Joy Kumagai, and I'm a PhD student at Stanford University. And I study kelp forests and seagrass ecosystems, so I thought I would attend this. But I had a clarifying question. In your in the priority nature-based climate solutions number 3, it says and further explore the role of these areas in providing resilience to climate change impacts. Could you clarify what further explore the role means and what actual action that would be associated with? Thanks.
So I believe that referred to a decadal update that was happening on the management of the California MPA system at the time of the last strategy. And I'd have to get back to you on exactly how that was addressed in that update. And if you want to send our email address, which is naturebasedsolutions@resources.ca.gov, I can put that in the chat. We can definitely get back to you on that.
Thanks. I think that would be great. And I think that my actual recommendation would probably just to be make that slightly more explicit of whatever you mean by that. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Carrie Nixon. I'm a climate planner with Rincon Consultants, and I work with counties that are looking into the feasibility of different natural and working land strategies for like carbon sequestration. I was at a previous webinar, and I think some of my comments will just mirror what I said there, which is that one barrier for implementing some of these strategies is having data, specifically like knowing where there are seagrasses and seaweeds, where these beds exist in like within the jurisdiction, and then who actually, would have the jurisdictional control over that particular area, and then being able to, in the case of sequestration feasibility studies, apply some generalized sequestration factor, because typically, like, the counties don't have the funds to study the particulars, or we would need to find some research that's specific to their area, and there's often a lack of that research available. So I think it's something that was, I think that's kind of well known, but just having more data and research available on where these land areas are specifically, where there could be restoration, especially at like the county level, and what targets there might be at the county level for the amount of area that's applicable for restoration or conservation.
Thanks, Carrie. I want to put something in the map. It is something that we developed alongside the 30 by 30 effort, and it's got the land cover maps that are in the 2022 strategy in a GIS online tool. And you can really zoom in and get down to a pretty granular, definitely the county scale of seeing where these lands are. So I'm going to put a link to the chat or in the chat of that so that you can check it out. The other thing that this tool has is a layer on conservation opportunities. And that is in alignment with the 30 by 30 efforts, but might be address part of your question of where these opportunities might exist.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So here's the one where the different landscapes are, and you can filter it by county or by region. And then I'll give you the general link so you can see all the different tools that are embedded within this larger CA Nature Explorer, I guess. we've had a person or two join. So just a reminder that if you want to comment on any of the questions here, feel free to raise your hand, come off mute, put it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you on any of these questions.
I did have one quick question. The Climate Smart Land Management Explorer, is that data downloadable? Like the
Believe there
GIS?
is, yeah, I believe there is a data download ability for all of the different data sets that are within the larger CA Nature tool. You may just have to poke around that website and look for a data download section. I'm pretty sure it's in there though. If you want to email our email address that I put in, we can also send you the correct links there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm Christine Noco of Rewild Coordinator of San Diego Audubon Society's Rewild Mission Bay project. I would like to ask and also answer about bullet number three, because currently our project is also facing criticism from the recreational group. Basically, they're opposing our project because they are thinking that because of we're trying to restore wetlands which also have seagrasses, that we're trying to um, basically eliminate them on the space, but really that's not what we're trying to do. Does you or does anybody from your group have like any word or language that you guys might like to use for this kind of opposing forces?
I'm really sorry, Chris, but at least for my connection, it cut out when you were explaining the crux of the issue. Maybe you could just say it again, what the issue is.
Yeah. So it's for bullet number three. So basically, for our project, which the Rewild Mission Bay project, um, we're trying to restore wetlands, which also have seagrasses,
Mhm.
and we're encountering some opposing, groups like recreational
Mhm.
groups who's thinking that, we're trying to eliminate space to them or for them.
Okay,
So I would
that's
like
the
to ask.
issue. I got.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the issue. And I would like to ask, do you guys or is your group has like some kind of language or some kind of words that, basically would be benefit, not only, for us and maybe for your group as well?
Mm. Well, what I guess what immediately comes to mind is just that a lot of times when we do these, investments in nature-based solutions, we're really encouraging, for example, in our grant programs, many of them have like some pretty critical priorities in mind, right? Like we're investing in this to reduce extreme heat. We're investing in this to, increase coastal resilience. But to the extent possible, we really encourage these investments to deliver on multiple benefits. And one of the key priorities for the resources agency writ large is increasing access to nature. And so I would, I don't know enough of the details to really provide, I think, solid advice here, but I would just say, to the extent that we could have a project that supports, seagrass, wetland restoration, that also increases access to nature, that's a benefit. Those are multiple benefits that, projects can and have already delivered. So that would be my first reaction. But Chris, I guess I would encourage you, given that our hope our hope for this workshop is really to hear recommendations from the public. For us, is if you would like to follow up, again using that CNRA Nature-Based Solutions email address in the chat, we are happy to connect you with people who might have more expertise in the nexus between wetland restoration and, access to nature and recreation opportunities. And good luck. I hope it goes well.
Thank you. Thank you.
within our last 10 minutes here, I'll just put up this slide. We've got more workshops next week, including a related one on Monday, wetlands and water, and this includes coastal wetlands. Additionally, if you have colleagues who aren't able to attend, or if you've got input you want to give later on, we are also accepting written input at the email address that I put in the chat, the naturebasedsolutions@resources.ca.gov, until the end of the month. at the top of the hour here. Thank you all, and please join us for our future workshop.
Thank you guys. Have a good weekend.